Hi everyone, welcome to Property Insight Straight Talk. Tonight, this is a very exciting topics that we're gonna discuss about. It's gonna be on how can we maximize our profit and minimize our risk during this COVID-19 pandemic. So there are people that say right now, taking a risk will give you the best return. We don't know. That's why today we have two experts to come in and discuss about this topic about property investing during this time. Of course, firstly, I would like to introduce Yong, a registered valuer and property manager, as well as a estate agent from Asia Cap Valuers and Property Consultant. Welcome to the show, Kit. And also Chris Chen, GM of Sales and Marketing from MahSing. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hi, okay.
All right. First off, basically during this MCO period, how would your daily routine be? Chris, would you want to share with us?
Well, I think we are very busy every day. I think is much more busier than when we are in offices because we have non-stop back-to-back online meetings every single day.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Kit, how about you? How do you spend your day?
Well, for us, or for me particularly, we just trying to keep sane for now, but having said that, there are certain areas of our work have been affected, like our valuation we can't really carry out through, but we still have a ongoing operation of property management, running couple of strata management sites, which we still need to get the buildings on running, the lifts and all this stuff. So that really keeps us busy at the same time. We are lucky in the sense that we can still operate. We just recently get a VT approval for operations again. Yeah. That will keep us sane and on running. We treat it as a new normal for now.
Yeah. Talking about new normal, okay, Kit, how is this new COVID-19 pandemic impacting our property market? Of course, how will the consumer behavior change in accordance to this so-called new normals?
I think this question is rather very interesting because this first thing is really unprecedented. The whole world is being affected and nobody is prepared for it. We just have a meeting internally between our shareholders and all that. We're just saying that, hey, what's we going to do about this and all that. But we're just saying that nobody is prepared. I'm sure that if somebody tell you I'm more prepared than other, yes, maybe. But we also realize that there's a lot of things that should be more in place. For example, things like being digital, more digital. You have documents online, and then you have your accounting system can be viewed online and all that stuff, and can be accessible. There's one in terms of operation, in terms of accounting, and so on. In terms of properties, I guess people are still assessing the situation and what is going on. And those days, people will say that working remotely is totally impossible. But now it's rather more possible than not. You see, that's the difference from a shift of mindset from totally impossible a lot of people, and now it's more possible, though it's not fully possible, though sometimes depends on some work. I think it's certain things that behavioral changes will be in place, and remote working will be much more possible, though I still think that face-to-face is still important. However, say that there will be changes to industries, is for sure. What is going to happen, it'll be very interesting to see, say for example, people talking about office space. Are they going to be dropped in office space? Which I think is not going to be so, for me to think so. And certain things will increase, that for sure, like e-commerce. You have much more demand in terms of logistics demand, in terms of central kitchen demand, and in terms of distribution demand and all that. So it depends on the really subsectors in that case. But there are certain sectors also in that way also have some uncertainty, like say for example hospitality. People don't travel for now, but in the longer term, I don't think people is not going to travel for a long time. It could be some form of challenge for now, temporarily, until we see a clearer picture.
Chris, What do you think the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on our home soil, on Malaysia property market, and how will consumer behavior change?
Yeah, I think this pandemic definitely has never happened in the history of mankind.
Yes.
And it's the first time ever that everything has come to a stop. The way we live our life, our buying behavior, I think have changed totally. It's like I have never buy so much things online before, in my life. So it's all done within this few weeks period. So retail are closed. Everyone now try to sell online. And people will ask, is this happening to the property sector? My answer is yes. It is also happening in the property sector. And people who used to visit our show unit, our sales gallery, now people are selling property online. And of course with the help of digitization, people can now enjoy virtual show unit right from home. So these are the changes which I think that the pandemic has actually impacted.
Yeah. The other question, of course, Chris, is can you share with us your thoughts on the latest stimulus package, especially this 6 months automatic moratorium, and what kind of impacts can we see from that measures?
Yeah, I think the MCO began 18th of March, and then it has affected businesses and jobs, right? And this moratorium on the loan repayment would definitely help to ease, especially the cash flow for those working in the tourism, in the hospitality, and even in the retail sector. And what I think is that this deferment package also allows the SMEs and individuals to delay their loan repayment up to 6 months, starting 1st of April. And because of this deferment, this will help them to sail through this tough time and then use the cash to pay for more urgent daily expenses. So say, for example, for the property sector, if let's say the purchaser have purchased a property, say a 500,000 property, okay, and say over a 30 years period, of a mortgage loan, and I'm still basing on the old interest rate of say 4.5%, right? The monthly installment will probably come to about 2,100 plus per month. Okay, so with that, so imagine in the next 6 months, I don't have to worry about paying this 2,000 over ringgit a month. Now, having said that, of course, there will still be interest added into the principal amount. And guess what? For the whole year, the interest rate versus, when there's no deferment, the interest is probably impact the buyer only probably about 300-400 ringgit a year.
All right.
And with this small amount of differences, after 6 months, the purchaser is still paying the same amount of installments. So I think it's a good thing that will help them to ease their cash flow.
Yeah. Kit, you have any comment on the latest stimulus package?
I believe so. I concur with Chris in that case. I think in this case, our government or our new government have done a really good job into pacifying the market, because it's not only just the actual cost or funds that you need to come up with in terms of, especially in this case, it's a cash flow. But looking at the ways that you look at the business confidence level that have been really very much bruised at this point of time. Everybody is worrying, and almost everyone, in fact, especially those directly impacted. We're talking about properties as even more so, because they are a very big sector at the same time that relying on rental or relying on certain level of income, as the most directly affected would be the retails. And we're talking about dine-ins and all that. It's totally almost zero until they start to do takeaways. That's one. And the most directly affected will be those within the city center that heavily relying on short-term rental like Airbnbs and all that. That is totally zero for that matter. So how are they going to pay the rent in that sense? And how are the owner able to service their loan? So all these 6 months create a certain level of certainty in terms of the cash flow, create a certain level of reprieve or relief to the landlord as well. I think for that part, they are doing it really right for the 6 months moratorium.
Yeah, the next question, of course, we're going to touch on is financing, because right now, there are noises in the market that banks are tightening up, and the guidelines for approval also has been all-time high. And how can a purchaser dealt with this? And maybe Chris, you can share some of your experience during this period of time. How the banks offering loan during the MCO period, and what are the overall approval rate like for MahSing?
Yeah, I think well, during this period of time, I spoke to a few bankers, and the bankers are still working from home. And we are still submitting the loan online. We are encouraging the customers to submit online, and guess what, we actually do get some approvals, right? And because of our customers profile, a lot of them are actually young professionals, and many of them buying properties as their first home.
Yeah.
Based on our record, especially on the few projects that I'm handling, the overall approval rate is about 70%. Yeah.
Wow, that's
and
high.
These are actually because these are the young professionals, which they have stable income, and they're buying it as a home to you, for their own use. Yeah.
Okay. Kit, your take on that? Overall, the banking financing approval.
I think the couple of things that is happening, as in the moratorium, it actually helps. We also know our bankers, like what Chris says, that they are actually working very hard, and they're still either working from home, and actually in some case we have bankers friends work from the office as well, because they are super busy. In terms of mortgage, of course, they're still working, and in terms of corporate loans and SME loans, there are opportunities in terms of restructuring loans and all that. Those banks many banks, in fact, are very resilient and responsive to the marketplace. They know what the market needs, and these are the time that they're able to help the businesses. I think it's a good opportunity for some if they are upfront and engaging with the bankers.
Yeah, so this is a critical time. I mean, for a lot of enterprise or businesses, branding has not come at a better time than now, because all the attentions, just imagine, all the attentions, all the eyeballs are right now online. So it is important time for branding. We all know that, because consumers are seeking for confidence, and they want to renew their trust. I mean, for today's discussion sake, probably we just focus it on the developers industry. They also want to renew their trust towards the developers. What is your strategy on that, basically on the branding side, Chris? And also, what measures has MahSing taken up for business operation during this MCO period?
Yeah, I think I've got customer comes to us and asks us, hey, how is your financial standing, and the kind of thing. So they want to make sure that we don't abandon projects during current time.
True.
So I think first of all, I would say MahSing has a very strong financial standing, and we ensure no abandoned projects. That's number one. Based on our track records, we completed all the projects, and we are always committed to deliver quality homes, even despite of challenging times. We also work with banks to offer easy payment scheme to our purchasers, and that actually creates more payment flexibility. And not only that, we also want to play our role, by giving back to the society in current times. So our MahSing Foundation has also committed a total of over 4.1 million to support efforts that addresses the immediate needs and individuals and communities that impacted by this COVID-19 pandemic through these various partnerships. So how we actually operate our business during current times, during this MCO period, like I say earlier on, we are working from home. Every day we have non-stop meetings. But the good thing is that our leaders, they give very clear instruction, very clear direction to all the staff, since day one. And then all the staff are very clear that what they need to do during the MCO period. All meetings are done online, and we also digitize all our entire sales process. So transaction can be done from booking to viewing of virtual show unit right up to even payment. So that's what we are doing, and this is how we are operating our businesses.
Okay, and in this challenging time, what will be the innovative marketing strategy, Kit, that you think that can help property ownership?
I think there's a couple of things that that probably would be happening, or it has happened. As a matter of fact, there are big developers like MahSing and all that. They, as what Chris have said, that things are being very digitalized. There's become much more important, in fact, compared to those days. That's one. And the other thing is probably would be more need based, as rather than all the fancy stuff. Virtual viewing become much more important, that's for sure. Because those days nobody would say, oh, this is not like buying vegetables, I want to see the vegetable first, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, virtual is something that people are more acceptable at now compared to those days. Just like remote working, the bosses won't even allow that. They say, no choice, now you have to do it. So it's not so bad after all, if you still have that option, right? Just like we say those days, we want to dine in, we want to have the freshest things in the food. But now we buy back, this a little difference, but we accept it. Yeah. So from the supply side, I think the developers or agents have been much more engaging online. Those are the innovations. And the other thing would be very much demand based. I think developers would probably look at that cash flow is much more important than just other things. Or even purchaser would probably want to look at much more goodies from people like MahSing and all that, isn't it? So I guess we will foresee that those things will come along much more than those days. And they probably want to look at much more packages that just fit into their needs, just fit into how they're gonna work through that. So technically, online digitalizations and all that will be much more important. Or even like for our trade, we are looking at our valuation work, or our what they call property management work. There's demand of all these apps and all that. It's become much more important. Those days we want to convince our clients, you got to pay for this subscription. Say, no, every month I need to pay 1,000 ringgit. It's too much. Now you think of it, 1,000 ringgit is actually very cheap. So all these are become much more acceptable and much more receptive. I think it's going to give a very good space or room for developers to introduce new things like that.
Yeah, Chris, what is the innovation marketing strategy by MahSing at this current time to help the property ownership? Maybe you can also elaborate a little bit on the new campaign, Easy to Own.
Yeah, MahSing has come out with this Easy to Own campaign for selected projects during this MCO period. And it is actually a scheme designed for those who are worried on the current market situation and those who are uncertain about the futures. So this scheme is what we're going to talk about, which is maximizing your profit and minimizing the risk during the crisis like this. Say we go back, a little bit of history and track records during the 2008, the global financial crisis. And I still remember, those days, many developers actually hold back on their launches.
Sure.
Okay, and only a handful of developers are proceeding with new launches, and MahSing is one of them. And that was when the born of the DIBS, which is the Developer Interest Bearing Scheme. Yeah. And those days we are talking about the 1090. So what we did was, we just pay a 10% down, and then after that, during the construction, you get a 90%, and then during the construction, you don't have to pay a single cent until your property is completed. And I have buyers during those days, when they purchase a property during that time, and they enjoyed huge gain when the property was completed in 2012, 2013, and that was the peak of the property market. And with the support from Maybank House Key, we actually they actually come up with this enhanced version. It's like an enhanced version of the DIBS scheme. So this is actually a lifetime opportunity not to be missed. Okay, because with this scheme, now we are offering the 0 down payment. All you need to do is to pay 1% deposit. Okay, it's a deposit, so meaning to say you get back the 1%. So it's a 0 down payment. During construction, 0 payment. And upon completion, guess what? You are paying 30% lower than the installment amount. Say, I'll give you an example. Say you're buying a 500,000 property.
Yeah.
Okay. You pay a 1% deposit, 5,000 ringgit.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. So say the construction take about 4 years. Say from now.
No other costs besides the 1%.
Yep. The legal costs, all this is absorbed by us.
Okay.
All right. And then you just pay a 1% deposit. That's
all
it.
right.
And from 2020 to 2024, say during the construction period, 0 payment.
Wow, 4 years, 0 payment.
4 years, 0 payment.
Okay.
And then when it comes to 2025, based on a 500,000 property, you probably have to pay a 2,000 ringgit a month. But now you just need to pay 1,004. So when the market is good, by the time 2025, 2026, when the market picks up, if you decide to sell it off at with a profit, go and sell it off. And that is how we minimize your risk and maximize your profit. And that is why I say this is a lifetime opportunity to own an asset with 0 commitment in the next few years. Yeah.
Wow, that's very creative. Okay, the next question will be, Kate, when is the best time to buy a property?
That is a $1 million question.
Yesterday.
I suppose it's a matter of property is just like any other investment at the same time. There will be many different perspectives and many different opinions. But as far as I'm concerned, I think at the pandemic period or post-pandemic period at this time, it may be a good opportunity at the same time, because you look at just what Chris have said, they can come up with much more innovative kind of programs for you. But at the same time, however, we will tell all the purchasers, go and look out. You have much more opportunity now. You have much more enticing programs for you in the primary market. In this case, which is developers like MahSing would come up with much more innovative packages to suit their needs. A good example would be they will try to minimize your uncertainty by fixing the repayment and all that. And in the secondary market at the same time, I think owners or landlords, vendors, they are much more receptive. You probably would be able to see some area, though not all, I would say, some area would be more receptive to have smaller gaps in terms of large transaction purchase price versus the asking price. So those are the things that there are opportunities come by. I guess the person, if they're ready, they probably can have much more opportunities, I suppose. Yeah. So to answer your question, when is a good time? I think if you are ready now, it's probably a good time as well. But you just need to bargain a bit harder, need to look further, and need to shop more.
Yeah, Chris, I'm sure you're being asked this question 10,000 times. Okay, all your purchaser will come to you. Hey, Chris, you sure now is the best time to buy?
Yeah, you see, I always share with people, we look at, some of the history, some of the track records, that is when we learn. Okay, if you ask me this question, when is the best time to buy a property? I would say it's now. Especially for those who missed the boat during the early DIBS back in 2009, that is the best time. This is the best time. And I personally, I've just bought a property end of last year. And if I know there's this easy to own scheme, I would have taken it out because I don't have to worry and I don't have to pay anything in the next few years,
Okay.
How could, can that be? Yeah.
All right. Understand. Of course, of late, the past week, there was this article that came out that says property price will drop by 70%. So I just want to seek some of your comments here. And of course, some association also is claiming that the drop might be 10% or up to 20%. So there are many noises right now. Everyone seems to be an expert in forecasting what will happen in our future property prices. So, Kit, would you want to comment on that?
Sure. I think it's very dangerous to put such a drastic number of 70%. I don't know how it come by. That is because basically, if we go back to fundamentals, the property prices are very much driven by the basic fundamentals of economics in terms of demand and supply. So in that case, are we saying that the demand are going to drop like crazy, probably 70%, or the supply is going to increase so much like the oil market? That doesn't seem to be happening, that's for sure. But as far as a professional like us is concerned, we are valuation, we are in a property consultancy work. So we want to look at much more objective evidence-based number or research-based number. For once, if you look at certain inputs from the economy, which is a very good indicators, we know that we are suffering in this case at the short term, that you can look at various much more what you call reliable number or predictions, you know. So if you look at MIER, they are looking at we probably would be hovering around our economy at the 2020 for between the 2% down to the growth of 0.5% down to a -2%. That is probably much more probable. And the next thing we probably want to look at is what is the recovery? Is that going to be a U shape? Is it going to be a V shapes? And what is the probable, plausible situation? We probably would. I certainly think that we will recover. But what is percentage? But IMF have told us that we are going to be very strong at 9%, which I do not know. But we don't have the official numbers. We don't have Bank Negara say so. So far as a consultancy work is concerned, we want to rely on certain numbers. We won't take this as face value with 70%. But to comment particularly on 7%, I think it's very dangerous. If there were to be a 70% down, I think the developers won't even want to sell, because we know and how so. Plus the land cost price, plus that construction cost, plus the compliance cost. 70% is actually their cost almost, and could be even higher sometimes, because the margin may not be that high, right? So as well, close the shop and don't even sell it. So for that matter, I think logically it should not even happen. Yeah, that to debunk that, I think there are some areas you may have some pressure downwards, but evergreen area will still be around. I'm pretty sure if you talk to owners who have paid off their loans and all that, try certain areas like what KK have said, like go Bangsa, and probably you go to Taman Desa and all that. If you get a 70%, you know, I think...
Don't talk about 70 lah. You can't even get 7%.
So, all in all, I think there's a dampened pressure down. Asking price will be down, I think, realistically, but 70% is off the track. That's my answer.
Okay. Chris, would you want to elaborate on that?
We have just come up with a press release that we did 37 million sales during the MCO period, and you know what, we didn't drop our price. We just worked with the banks. We just repackaged the whole thing to suit the current needs. And guess what? People are still coming in to purchase. We don't have to drop the price. You just have to have an innovative package, and that will work for everybody. Yeah,
agree. Kate, if you are more ready financially from the rest, where could be the opportunity right now?
I think opportunity come by in different areas. One is, of course, the type of properties that you want to look at. Now, what we're saying that evergreen would be residential housing would still, the needs will be still there because population is growing. It's not like not. Migration level is still coming into the city area, city center. That is demand driven, that's for sure. I think residential will be a safest bet in terms of category of products. And the other thing would probably, you look at industrials will still continue to go up, continue to be in demand. I think the cautions part would be probably hospitality for that matter, because of uncertainty in the short term, if it's not in the long. Commercials, slightly be cautious with retail, as for sure, everybody knows that it's not a secret. So in terms of locality wise, basically the demand will be still there. Evergreen area will be still evergreen. We talk about city center where the business activities, where is all the action is. I think that will be still around. KLCC, Bukit Bintang areas and all that. People still going to go to work there. The offices are all there. It's not going to change, right? So places, those are the places, and the fringe and this area servicing the city center also is very important. Places like Oakland Road is very easy to access. Places like Sentul as well, say for example. And we are looking at areas that is close to the MRT stations and the LRT stations. It's always will be there. So I think those are the areas that you probably will want to look at.
Yeah, we have a question from our viewers. It says, should I go for sub-sale or new property? Since sub-sale can give me rental income immediately. Any advice on this? Chris, you want to take the question?
Well, if you ask me, I think at the end of the day, right, I think there's a lot of uncertainties. My question is, will the sub-sale property give you the kind of package that is able to resolve your uncertainties during the uncertain times? Well, if you are cash rich, perhaps, but I think many would like to just to have some cash with them for now, and that is why I think the new property that we are having, for the next few years, hassle free, peace of mind, ownership. So I will probably I will definitely go for the new project.
Buy some time, have some buffer, things like that. Yeah.
And by the time few years down the road, when the market picks up, I sell it off.
Yeah. Oh, we have another question. When will the property market hit the bottom? I think we slightly discussed on that. And also, what if the price go lower after I purchase the property?
Yeah. Okay. I think, for me, I always look at data. Okay. Say for example, if you study back, say for the past, say 12 years back in say 2008, right? That is when I would say the global financial crisis. Yes, property price still sort of like it has dipped a bit, but then look, everything there's a cycle. It will eventually pick up. You just need to know when to go in and when to sell. Yeah. If you look at the overall, from say since 2009, those days when you buy a property, average maybe price at about 200,000. The same property, now will probably cost you 400,000-500,000. So over the years, the property price still appreciates.
Understand. Yeah. Kit, would you want to take on the question?
I think to a certain extent, I concur and with Chris. I think there are certain things that drive that prices of that market. That's why there's something that I like about properties, because all this while we look at the trends and if we look at the figure, what is actually driving it. One of the factor, of course, is back to the demand and supply, and the demand would always increase because in the sense that the population increase and migrations to the cities and lifestyle extension. So that's one. And one very important factor would be would be the inflationary rate that would drive your asset prices upwards because of cost value of monies concept. And unless or it happens that we have a deceleration of inflation, which the inflation so-called. Otherwise, we don't see that we have a younger populations in compared to places like Japan and all that. Population growth is decreasing. So if you look at all the figures and the supporting data, our inflation rate is growing healthily in the sense that our unemployment rate is low at a low 3 to 4%, hovering around that. I think it will bump up a little bit, but we're still at a very healthy rate. And our inflation rate is always like between the 2 to 3%, which is very good. If people would understand the basic economic fundamentals, you need to have a healthy rate to drive that in the long term. I think the cycle will continue to be there, that's for sure. But within that cycle, as long as this level of certainties and manage it in that sense, I think we should not go wrong in that sense.
Okay. Well, in this challenging time, what advice or what mistake should a purchaser avoid? So Chris, any advice or mistakes for the purchasers to avoid?
I wouldn't say mistakes or what, but I think in current challenging times, many would think, the first thing is, many would think, okay, the best time to invest is when the market is good. That is the mentality that many would have. And that is why, I keep on, emphasizing we look at, the data, the old data, and back in 2012 and 13, and that is when the property market is at the peak. But there's when a lot of people start going in. And guess what? When the property, when they purchase back in 1213, and those property will complete, 3-4 years down the road, which is 2016 and 17. And that is when the market already coming down. So you will need to wait for the market to pick up again. So my advice would be, if you still have a job, if you still can get a loan, then you should not miss the lifetime opportunity, because, other than that, 1% deposit, like I mentioned just now, you don't have to worry on payment for the next few years. And that would be my advice for the property purchaser.
Okay. Kit, your side?
For me, I will look at the more thorough in terms of where you are. I think what Chris said is very important. If you have a job and you with stable income and all that, I think property market is a long haul thing. Yeah. So it's not going to happen. You buy today and then tomorrow you can sell it away. You see. So in that sense, that it's good to leverage with the banks and mortgages. At the same time, look at what you have, and as long as you work within the reasonable rate of financing. So there's one very important thing. The other thing I would think is mistakes to avoid is that do not follow the herds, in that sense that you should make your own decision. You should make some judgment. You should make some research, and in terms of localities, area, in terms of demand, and what would be so that area, and what kind of properties and good developers to go with. If you don't want to take so much of risk, one-time developers could be a risk factor as well, because you can't afford to lose that and stuck there for the next 9 years to paying the loan without a house.
True.
So those are the things that I think is very important, and go for good demand area, that area that you want to stay and you can stay, rather than than area that everybody thinks is good but you don't think so. So those are the very logical things I think a person should actually look at.
Okay. We just take on one more questions from our viewers. Okay, one last question from our viewers. A lot of people is saying about the 10 years market cycle, where the property price will bounce back after every crisis. Based on your opinion or data on hand, when are we expecting the market will start to pick up again? Basically the rebound time lah. Okay, now we are at the low. When will the market rebound? Chris?
Personally, I would think that give it 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Then I think that will be when we will hit the peak again.
Okay. Kit, your side?
Yeah, I don't have a crystal ball for start to answer that. But having said that, I think the market will continue to have this cycle, knowing that it's just like any other economic cycle. We will sure have, and it cannot continue to go down and cannot be always down at the same time. So in a longer term or the midterms, I think we have a chances that we should be able to have some traction and gain upwards. Probably, definitely it's not this year, that's for sure. Which I don't foresee so, because we are actually playing catching up of our economies. But probably, hopefully, if next year what you are looking at, if the economy is still growing, we probably have seen some catch up from 2020, which we have left off with. I would think we have some chances in the next 3-4 years time.
Yeah. Okay. Last question for you guys. What would be the first thing that you're gonna do when MCO is lifted? Chris.
Well, I would love to go for a swim with my kids.
That's a good answer.
Yeah,
I think there's too many things I want to do, but I do not know where to start off first. I probably want to do my swim. I probably want to go to see my clients and have the simple food in my kopitiam.
For me, first thing I need a haircut. My hair is growing too fast. Okay, with that, I would like to thank every one of us, every one of you all that are watching tonight. Thank you very much for stay tuning with us. And also, I would like to personally thank Kit and Chris for your selfless sharing and some of your insights. And of course, it gives us a better perspective on the overall property market and what is actually happening in our industry as a whole. So with that, wish you all the best. Stay home and stay safe. Okay, good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.